Well, well, well. Looks like we have some people here. Hello, baby love. Thank you for coming in. Crooked Cactus. Welcome. Welcome, welcome. At least your comments are here. Yeah, I'm a couple of minutes early. Just wanted to make sure that I have all of this in the set in the right position. Okay, cool. What does that button do now? Okay. And that. All right, that's fine. Kevin, how you doing? Did you guys get the topic for tonight? Because in a couple of weeks or so, I am going to Vegas, and I thought, you know what? I want to talk about this because it's been something that, hey, people have been talking about, people that live in Vegas have been talking about, visitors, is that it has been changing. And yes, it has changed. So that's the topic for tonight. We know Vegas has changed, and the question is, whose fault is it? Now I know what the I know what days I will be there on Sunday the 20th for my normal enjoyment. Hey Mike, how you doing? Mike will be there much before. In fact, I think a lot of people are going down. So I know in the next week or so we have Canadian Thanksgiving coming up next weekend, and we're hosting it over where I am. So there's going to be a lot of activity, and then after that, getting ready. So I thought, you know what? I want to do this live, and I want to get this one out of the. That's better. Now I don't have the circle light flashing from my glasses. So yeah, that's the question. Who's at fault? Why did Vegas change? And you know what? I know the popular answer, and I'm just waiting to say. I want to say it first because then it'll be like, yeah, you guys are just going to have to believe me that I know what the answer is going to be. But I think we've all changed. I have my own take on that. And we're going to talk about that because it has. It's always been one of my favorite places to go to. Even at my age, I do Vegas maybe a little bit differently than a lot of other people. There's no right or wrong way to do Las Vegas. There's lots of different ways to do it, and hey, guess what? They're all good. So I know the common answer of what happened to Vegas, why it's become so expensive, why now we have resort fees in the resort. You can't park for free anymore. There's no more cheap buffets. There might be a couple, but food, drink, cocktails on the strip. You can be spending 20, 25, $30 for really fancy high-end cocktails, and so on and so on. If you go to a show, A-liners are super expensive. And, the common answer that gets brandied about, of course, is corporate greed. Those evil corporate people that just want to take your money. Well, you know what? This may come as a little bit of a shock, but you show me one corporation on this planet that doesn't want to make money. There's no such thing. And Vegas has always, since it was invented, has been, first of all, it's been always about attracting people to town. Remember back, what it was it in the 30s? They had that, what was it called? Hellrado or something that they used to hold downtown on Fremont Street. And that used to be a big event. And little by little, they legalized gambling, which of course was huge. It expanded from there, became a tourist destination. They changed the divorce laws, and a lot of famous celebrities would come to Las Vegas to get a divorce. The rules were something like if you spent a month in the state, that's it, you could get your divorce. So, of course, all the Hollywood jet setters were taking advantage of that. And then, of course, the mob figured, hey, you know what? We can make money here. And of course, they got influenced and they got involved in different casinos and projects. We all know the story. There's a lot of really, really great videos and a lot of really great things that have been done out there talking about the evolution and the changes. I think the point I want to make is that Vegas is always changing. It's always evolving into something else. And the question, of course, now is, why did it change from what it was 15, 20 years ago? I don't know exactly because I had a little bit of a hiatus from going there. Until 2023. I hadn't been for about 7, 8 years, and before that, about another equally as long of a time before then. So there was kind of intermittent. But I think a lot of the changes started happening. Very true, Kevin. Very true. You have that. I mean, on the strip, you've got basically the MGM group and the Caesars group that control the majority on different downtown, and you have other people like Boyd Properties, which have downtown properties, and they have off-strip properties. That does thing, but a lot of that still existed in the past. And okay, let me give you my take, because after all, that's the whole point of this. I've got to say something here, and I believe Vegas changed because the tourists changed. And let me explain that. Historically, Vegas, and let's remember, there's two different Vegases. There's the Vegas that people like myself, who have always ever been a tourist, have come down there for business. I started first going to Vegas during the CES electronic shows back in the late 80s and in 90s and so on, and that was sort of business, mostly pleasure, because the main work on the booths was done by our U.S. counterparts, and we just basically had to go up, maybe take a few top clients through the product line, show them the new lines for the next year, and of course wine and dine them and take them to expensive restaurants and all that, which was expensed anyway, and that's always been. Now, think about it though. Outside of that and conventions and things, what did people go to Vegas for? Primarily, it was gambling. They primarily went to gamble. And what did the casinos do? The casinos offered you very cheap food. All the casinos had their cheap buffets. They would offer a cheap breakfast, lunch, dinner buffet. The better ones were a little more expensive, but you could get a breakfast buffet for $6, $7, even on the strip. Not a problem. Cocktails were besides free, even if you were buying them, everything was cheap. A couple bucks, you got yourself a beer, you got yourself a cocktail, because the idea was, we want you in our casino gambling. And whatever you spent your money gambling, hi Lisa, you spent it gambling, and that's where the casinos made their money. Now that has dropped down. People do not gamble as much. People also, that phenomenon, and I'm going to do one live when I'm going to talk about that. This whole phenomenon of the foodies. Now, all of a sudden, going to a buffet and having basic kind of buffet food wasn't good enough. We have to eat in celebrity chef chain restaurants. We have to have gourmet. It has to be the experience. Now, I'm not knocking that, but I'm saying this made a change. We want better accommodations. We want more of an experience. So, of course, the rooms get renovated. More higher end things. You look at the new resorts that were built. A lot of it on opulence. Huge, beautiful foyers and atriums. Look at what was built. What do they call that? The Link Promenade, where you have all these, cool restaurants and things. And this was demanded by the public. Because Las Vegas, okay, let's think for a minute. If you go to Las Vegas and you bring so much money with you, now forget how you got there, because, if you're close enough, you can drive there. And there's a lot of places in the U.S. where you can get a relatively cheap flight there. Unfortunately, if you're like me, up in Canada, it's a lot more expensive for a flight. So let's just cancel that a minute. But now you're there. You've got to stay somewhere. You've got to eat and drink. And you got to entertain yourself, whether it's going to be gambling or whether it's going to be seeing a show or some kind of an event or something. Now, whatever you bring, whether it's a few $100s or several $1,000s, Las Vegas wants that. That's what they're there for. Okay, they're there for that. In the old days, people gave that to the casinos via their gambling. So, okay, yeah, no problem. You can park for free. Yeah, no problem. The rooms are cheap, and if you're a player here with your player's card, we'll comp your room. No big deal, no problem. Put your money there. Food, not a problem. You can eat cheap, fill your belly, get yourself back to the machines and play away. Well, that's changed. The average person now, and these are not my opinions, these are actual stats that have gone, I think, for like 2023, very early 2024. The average stay in Las Vegas is 3.5 nights, which is, it's a funny number, but it makes perfect sense because a lot of people come for 3 nights, a lot of people come for 4 nights, and you average that comes to 3.5 nights. And what they spend on average in gambling, if I believe correctly, was something like $730, $740 for that time frame. Now you average that out for 3.5 days. What does that come to? About $220 or so a day. Now, my mother and father, when they used to go to Vegas back in the 70s and the 80s, they had that basic budget each because they went there to gamble. And that's what they went there. It was their reason for going. Now, remember also too that gambling was, in the States, you basically you had Atlantic City or you had Vegas. That opened up. I know even for me personally in Canada, the late 90s, they allowed casino gambling in Canada. I lived about 45 minutes away from a really nice casino, which would even be considered a decent sized casino by Vegas standards. It had something, it still does, has something like about 2,400 machines in there and tables, wonderful restaurants. And so you didn't have to go to Las Vegas to get that gambling thing. But I think also people, for whatever, they don't want that. So it's my honest opinion, Vegas is going to get that money from you somewhere else. Fine. You don't want to gamble? No problem. Your room is more expensive. Oh, and we're going to charge you a resort fee, which is going to cover, and the things they say they're going to cover. I know even myself, where I tend to stay, the Wi-Fi is free. But if I want multiple devices, you pay a premium for that. So, okay, there you go. Maybe if you're a family or something, everybody's got a cell phone, and plus you're bringing your tablets and you're bringing stuff like this. Well, okay, now they're getting your money there. Parking a lot if you're staying at a place, but for the casual visitor who's just driving in, maybe they're an hour away or something from the Strip or downtown. They just want to drive in to spend a day and have some fun or whatever. Again, if they're just there to have a few drinks and whatever, hey, Slow. Yeah, no, a resort fee is bullshit, but they still charge it. And I said that when you have the resort fees, parking, all of this stuff, and that's very much where I'm going with this. Because of the changing landscape, I believe very strongly that that has changed Vegas. Now, for the person who lives in Vegas, hi Tony, think about it. For the person who lives in Las Vegas, nothing stops them from going to a nearby casino and take advantage of a cheap buffet. You could fill yourself, take your family there for, relatively cheap, eat well, have a few drinks, maybe throw 20, 30 bucks into the slot machine or whatever if you wanted to. But even then, you just wanted some fun time. And yeah, Mike, you're right. You pay it because what is your choice? Now, does old style Vegas exist? In a way, yes, it does. Okay, first of all, let's forget the high end gamblers, the whales, whatever you want to call them, the high rollers. There was always those. There always will be. They are taken care of totally by whatever properties they're at, whatever companies. Believe me, I know something about that because at my local casino, and I'll tell you that story, I had pretty damn high status. What was going on over there. So I know all about being the quote unquote high roller over there. But the average person when they're going there, and again, somewhere, well, you're right. There are some places that don't charge resort fees, but I'm going to get to where I'm going with all of this. I look at myself now. Okay, even with my age now, I'm not going to Vegas to party on Fremont Street and listen to live bands. No, I'm going there to gamble, plain and simple. I am going there to gamble. I have a modest budget. I'm not, I'm not bringing tons and tons of money there. I can't afford that. But since I am there to gamble and I concentrate my gambling within a certain framework of property, I don't pay for my rooms. My rooms are comped. Most of my food is comped, unless I'm buying a coffee or something here. They take care of me. Why? Because I'm putting money and gambling. Okay, now for me, if you're a first-time goer to Vegas, or you're young, you have to check out the Strip. It's absolutely magnificent. Of course, anyone will tell you that the illusion of distance is really a real thing. What looks like it's just, oh, this is just a 5-minute walk away, might be a mile and a half away. You can walk through one big casino on the Strip and end up, walking the equivalent of passing 6 casinos downtown. All right. So a lot of that for me, and I've stayed on all kinds of properties on the Strip and whatever. At my age, I'm lucky I'm still mobile. I can walk, but there's no way I'm going to be walking miles up and down or doing this sort of thing. So, okay, Mike is asking my preferred sort of thing. Now, I'll tell you exactly about what me is for me. First, I'm going to have a little sip. My drink tonight is grappa, which is Italian moonshine. And this actual particular grappa was the last one that was at my father's liquor cabinet. That nobody else really drank grappa except me and him, and I took this. So cheers to Dad. And made from very, very near from where he was born, up in the northern Italy. They still make the best grappa over there. But anyway, I digress. So for me, and to answer Mike's question, okay, personally me, and I have done slot machines and that sort of thing. When I go to Vegas, the bulk of my playing is on video poker machines. And most of that is on the old style. It might have more than one game, but the old style video poker, not the Ultimate X, and a lot of these games have evolved in the last several years because they give more excitement to the game of poker. And they give more volatility, but they also give the chance of the big payout. Yeah, bonus poker is a great game, actually, because bonus poker pays you 2-to-1 on a 2-to-1 on 2 pairs, which you normally get 1-to-1 on that on a lot of these games, except you're playing Joker poker, and the bonus, you still get a bonus for aces and stuff. I like playing deuces wild. Here's the great thing about video poker, and I'm not trying to sell anybody on video poker, but with video poker machines, you don't have to ask yourself, gee, is this machine set at 80% or is it set at 90%, or like a slot machine? You can have 6 slot machines, all the exact same game beside each other, and each one can be set at different payouts. I think the law in Nevada is minimum 75%. Most machines are set higher than that, but even then, this goes over such a large number. You're talking tens of millions of spins for the algorithm to sort of play itself out. And it's a fascinating thing. There's some great videos on YouTube about exactly how that works. And then, of course, there's people that think they have systems and the way they're going to do that. Well, maybe we could touch about that a little bit. Back to the video poker. Because video poker is based on a deck of 52 cards, 53 cards if you're playing Joker poker, because they've added one Joker in there. The mathematics of probability is exact. You can't mess with that. It can easily be, and easily has been, figured out years ago. There's no mystery. The odds of getting a royal flush and the odds of getting a full house and whatever. So, how do the game manufacturers and ultimately the casinos, how do they set up the machines to adjust their percentage, their house edge, how much they're going to get back? And that is by changing the pay table. So what they pay you for a given hand determines the percentage that the machine is set at. Now, there's all kinds of free websites and things that have that all listed for you. They'll show you your particular poker game and they'll tell you exactly what the payouts are. And here's the shocking thing that people don't realize, a lot of people don't realize, that even a really crappy, video poker machine, like one, for example, that's like 6.5, and I'll explain that in a second, is still at like 95%. It's still better than most slot machines. And most poker machines are like high 97.9 to 98.9, right around 1 to 2% max house edge, which is the same as if you're playing perfect strategy on blackjack and better than roulette and a lot of other games strictly with mathematics. And never forget, you can't argue with mathematics. Mathematics is not an opinion. It is what it is. Like it, don't like it, enjoy it, don't enjoy it. It is what it is. So those are there. Now, another thing with the strip properties, the one thing you do notice when you go in their casinos, and there's tons of videos that people have done in those casinos, what do you not see a lot of? Video poker machines. Funny thing. You see a lot of different slot machines, all the fancy ones, and puff your huff, and big and pigs that explode, and hens that pop, and all this stuff, because that puts on the show. That's what people love, and it's also where the casinos make their most money. They don't make as much money on the video poker machines because of those high payout places. And there are even machines where they are actually over 100%. I have played them. I know where some are downtown. And what you look at basically is you look on the pay table on the different hands, and you look at the full house payment and the flush payment. And that will generally tell you, like, for example, a very common machine is double bonus, which will pay you big money if you get 4 aces and 4 twos, 3s, 4s, and different combination for quads. And that machine, if you see that, let's say in a 9-6 configuration, that's paying 9 to 1 for your full house and 6 to 1 for your flush. That's at like 99% basic payout. Like only a 1% house edge. Now, does that mean that for every $100 you put in, you're going to get $99 back? No. You can have bad streaks, and that same payout, if you ever find a 10-7, which it pays 10 to 1 on the full house and pays 7 to 1 on the flush, that's over 100%. That's like 101 something, and I forget the exact change. I have found and played on those machines. Funny story, back in the early 2000s, I think it was about 2004, 2005, something like that. Excuse me. I was staying at the Gold Coast, and I was staying there with a friend of mine, and we made the mistake of going to Vegas on a really limited budget. So, okay, we're struggling out, and I go and I find this 10-7 machine. I went to Gold Coast particularly because it was known then as a very good locals casino, because it had a lot of poker machines, and a lot of locals play the poker machines for that exact reason, because the basic payback is better than a lot of slot machines. And I found a 10-7 machine. I figured, okay, great, this is good. I had $100. I put that $100 in. I lost that $100 in about 20 minutes. So much for the full pay machine. Why? Because I wasn't hitting full houses and I wasn't hitting flushes, which is where the advantage is built into. So if they don't come up in your hands, you can still get whacked. And when I do play slot machines, which is if maybe I've had a little bit too much to drink. I don't get drunk. I can't remember the last time I got drunk, but I do drink when I go to Vegas. I drink every day. I can handle my alcohol. I'm still a big, heavy guy, and so I can handle it. But if I'm starting to feel like a little bit and maybe a bit tired, I may switch to slot machines. Why? Because it takes absolutely no skill to push a button on a slot machine. And yes, somebody made a comment here about the advantage play machines. Yes, advantage play is a real thing. It's not a guarantee. And I certainly hope any advantage play videos, and I've watched a lot of them on YouTube, and the more honest ones will tell you that. If you happen to find the right event, yes, there's an advantage to that, and some of them, Scarab comes to mind, where it builds up the wilds, and if somebody has left that machine with 9 out of the 10 wilds set up, yeah, throw the money in there because there's a good chance you'll get a single payout. But some of the ones where it gives more probability for a jackpot or for a bonus round, you can still go a lot of dollars into that machine before you get that. And you should always remember that. So there's no guarantee with that, because if it was that advantageous to the players, I promise you the casinos would take them out. The casinos are there to make money. They're not stealing your money. It's wide open. It's called gambling. And you have to look at gambling with the idea and the mindset that it's an entertainment. Okay, if I go to a sporting event and I pay, I pay a couple of $100s for the ticket, and I pay for food and stuff, maybe another couple of $100, and maybe the whole night cost me $500. I don't go and say the sporting event ripped me off. Oh no, I paid money and I got something for it. In gambling, you pay the money for the rush of gambling. And yes, there are people who claim to be professional gamblers. There is a such thing. Then gambling becomes very much work. Okay, where you go there with a set goal. You may reach that goal in the first 15 minutes of gambling. You call it a day. You go home. I've made my $200-300 or whatever you set with that. There was a book I bought for my parents, and I now have it. Way back in I think it was the copyright, I think was 1999 or 2000 or whatever when I gave it to them. And it was a book on gambling. Now, again, the slots and everything were old school, but it talks about all the different games. And it was written by the Mensa people. That's it. That's the club of geniuses. So there's a lot of math in there and a lot of stuff that you just simply cannot argue about. It talks about a lot of these things. And what it talks about that was true then is still true now. And what has changed, the old style slot machines, the ones that, have 3 reels and clink, 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 boring like hell. They all play that same music. It's that same slot machine music. And it's so funny because that hasn't changed since I used to play those things. Well, yeah, I used to play those all the time back on my home casino. In fact, the first jackpot that I ever had was the double diamond, double diamond, double diamond. 2 coin, quarter machine, double diamond. It 50 cents bet. It pays 1,600 credits, quarters. That's $400, and that was the jackpot on that machine. They still have those machines. Good luck finding them with quarters. I have found some at the Fremont Hotel on Fremont Street. They have that exact same machine in a 25 cents, and I'll play that for nostalgia and have some fun with something like that. But those old style machines in the world of slot machines are very boring. Why do I say that? Because you don't win huge. It's very much think of a wave, but a very small wave. Okay? Your jackpots aren't like 10,000, 15,000. But you get a lot of line hits where you get your bet back and whatever. So it's a much better way to roll your money through. And that's how you earn comps at the casino. It's not you go there and you lose $100 in 15 minutes, or you lose $100 over 2 hours. Guess which one earns you more comps? Obviously, the $100 over 2 hours. Why? The casino's not looking from that aspect. They're not looking at what you lost. They're looking at the total amount of money that you recycled through that machine. That is also why, for doing that, video poker is very good, because you get a lot of hands that just give you back your bet. And that's why also that casinos earn you points at a lower rate on video poker than they do on slot machines, for that exact reason. And all casinos do that. Whatever they'll give you on a slot machine, they will give you less playing video poker, because they know you can roll your money through a lot longer on video poker. and you can sit there. I remember one day, it was a day again back in this local casino at home, and it was $1 video poker machine. So that's $5 a bet. This was my high roller days. And it's funny because it was a double joker machine. I don't see those anymore. I think they took them out. I don't even know what the exact payout was, but it had not one but two jokers in the deck. Well, long story short, I played that machine and a couple that were in this. There was a bank of 10 machines, 5 on one side, 5 on the other, all dollar machines, 3 different styles. And I played all 3, and I played them for about almost 12 hours. And at the end of the day, I think I was down maybe $75, maybe. I don't even think I was down $100. I got to the point that I was tired of playing. My eyes were going funny. I didn't even need my glasses then, reading glasses. This was, 30 years ago. But because I never was way up to say, oh, gee, I've won a couple $1,000, I'm going home. And I was never way down to say, oh, geez, I dropped $500. It was one of those days that it just all stayed right around the even, up a bit, down a bit. I had a field day. Now, that day, I probably earned $300, $400, $500 worth of comps and points. Because at $5 a spin, you do the math and you're hitting it. And I was, like my dad used to say, I'd play the poker machine like a piano. It was whoop, 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 bang, next hand, whoop, whoop, and bang. Like you get that good at it, the cards are just flying by. And sure enough, that builds up. And yet I technically came out a loser, but that's how you earn comps at a casino. That's how they rate it. Now, for me, Mike has said here, I want to read the comments. You have more control over your wins play. Sort of, kind of, Mike. It's all about volatility. And again, there's a lot of great videos out there that talk about machine. I'm not going to mention any particular slot channels that are out there, but there are some. I'll let you find them out on their own. But they'll talk about this. And the newer machines, the fancier machines, the ones that have the elaborate bonuses and whatever, are much more volatile. That means instead of this kind of a small up and down, it's a big up and down. So you can have large gaps where you're winning nothing, or you get a hit and it doesn't even pay back your bet. You're actually, it's like lose when you win. That's the kind of the same with the newer like multipliers in video poker, where you'll have 10, you can get like a 12 times pay on a poker line. Well, on those games, you have to bet double what a normal 5 credit bet is. You're paying 10 credits. So now you get, okay, let's say you're playing a jacks or better machine, and you get jacks or better, it pays you back 5, but you bet 10. So you lose when you win. Now, why do people play that? Well, obviously, because you suddenly get 4 aces and you've got a 12-time multiplier, or heaven forbid you hit a royal flush with a 5, 6, or 7-time multiplier. You're talking big money, which in a normal poker machine, your royal flush pays you 800 to 1, 5 credits, that's 4,000 credits. You're playing quarters, that's $1,000. You're playing dollars, that's $4,000. You're playing $5, that's $20,000. Simple math. It's true with all the poker machines. That changes with these new dynamic poker machines. They're a lot of fun to play, and I do play them. I usually, if I'm up, because there is a lot more volatility, and there's a lot more of a swing of a bankroll. And for me, Vegas is all about money management. I go there and I have so many dollars that is going to be for my day, and I spread that out and whatever. Now, if I'm sitting down and I've dropped, a couple of $100 really quick, I'll take a break, of course, because you could blow it. Like I'm not sitting there with $5,000 a day budget. Hey, forget it. I'd be staying at the Wynn in their luxury suite and have the machines rolled into my suite to play. So I'm not at that level. As a matter of fact, what I like to do and what has worked for me, as I said, downtown has way more poker machines, and since that's what I want to play, so let's look at downtown. Because if you're going to do the Strip, you do one of two things. If you're a moderate budget gambler, then you should choose. Either spend your money in the Caesars properties or spend your money in the MGM properties, but concentrate in one, because if you split it over both, you're not going to earn the maximum number of comps. I truly believe you're better off to kind of go, yeah, well, there you go. Shahaz? Shakaz. Sorry, I'll pronounce it properly. To pass the time and get drinks. Exactly. Oh, yeah, if the drinks is there, you tip it, whatever. But back to what I'm saying. Now, downtown, this is an interesting story because about 7-8 years ago, I stayed down at the Fremont Hotel. I've always liked Boyd Properties. I stayed at the Gold Coast, like I said. I stayed at the Fremont, way too loud. Nice casino to gambling, but at night, God, it was too loud. So I'm thinking, okay, what are my options downtown if I want to concentrate my play? Well, if you look at the casinos, starting from one end to the other, if we start from the south, from the far east, you've got the El Cortez, a great hotel, great casino, nothing wrong with that. It's got good vibes, it's a good place. But as far as I know, it's single standing. It's not affiliated with any of the other casinos. Now you go up through Fremont, and then you have the D. Now the D is affiliated with the Circa and the Golden Gate. So those three, you could play at those three casinos, and your stuff. Samstown, love it too. Samstown is another Boyd's property. Been there myself. Love Samstown. But anyway, so you have that choice. Now you have the Four Queens and Binions. Those two are linked. The Fremont is a Boyd's property that's linked with the California and the Main Street Station. Then you have the Plaza, which is an independent, and the Downtown Grand, which is also an independent. So out of the 12 casinos, you've got 2 links of 3, that's 6, a link of 2, that's 8, and 4 independents. Which one did I miss? Downtown Grand, Plaza. I missed one. Okay, because I know there's 12. El Cortez, Downtown Grand, the Plaza. Which one did I miss? Which one did I miss of the independents? When I say independent, Golden Nugget. How do I forget the Golden Nugget? Yeah, and again, the Golden Nugget, which is right downtown. Now, again, that's why I stay at the Main Street Station. It's a small casino. It's quiet. It's got lots of poker machines. I can walk across the road bridge to the California, which is linked. All kinds of great stuff over there. I'm happy if I want to take a walk downtown, even if it's really hot out there. I kitty corner out of the California. I go through Binions, and I barely have to be outside if it's 100 degrees. I did that last year in August when I was down there. It was like in the 110s and 115s. But for me, staying at the Main Street, it's nice and quiet. I'm not worried about the bands, and it suits me. I can concentrate my playing on the Boyd's properties and any one of those 3. I think this trip I'm going to take a day and go to the Gold Coast because they have a poker machine there that they don't have at the downtown properties, which I want to try. I've seen videos on it, and I definitely want to try it. Oh, big time, Mike. As a matter of fact, on the Strip, I think it became the Cromwell. Used to be the Barnaby Coast. Barnaby Coast? Barbary Coast. The Barbary Coast. I used to love that hotel. Great hotel. Old style, Victorian style, woodwork and that sort of thing. And it's not just my age, because I really loved that stuff when I was, 30 years old. Just the way I roll. But again, you do what you want to do. Like I said, for me, who's going there to gamble, really is kind of a narrow choice. And if I want to now start traveling and going, there's a lot of places I can go. I'm not going to spend a fortune on Ubers. I can walk those casinos downtown. Yes, the Barbary Coast. I know my father, because my mom and dad used to go. It was funny because they used to go to Vegas fairly regularly, and they would go for a week. They almost always stayed at the Flamingo. That was their hotel. They stayed there. They knew where everything was, and they would basically go to gamble. They would eat, drink, and I mean, my dad would joke if that machine, the only time they were like going and seeing a show or something was the machines weren't playing, and they played. My mom played a bit of video poker, dad the odd time, but mostly it was slot machines, old style slot machines. And sometimes if that machine was paying, dad had to almost physically grab mom and take her up to the room. It's like, honey, you've been playing long enough, okay? I come from a tradition of gambling as a young. I get this is true. On my mother's side, when the families used to get together for whether it's a Thanksgiving or Easter or Christmas, and we would rotate from the different families. Well, once dinner was over, we had maybe coffee and some dessert, but pretty quickly things got cleaned up and the dinner table was all cleaned up and chairs made it around and everybody sat down and played poker. And this, I'm like young boy, 6, 7, 8 years old. I can still remember. They're all the adults would play poker till like 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, and then we go home. And this was regular. The poker game was always there. Get rid of the stuff. Dishes got washed before you knew it. Everyone pitched in, boom, and out you're going and playing poker. And they would play a variation, basically Texas Hold'em, but they played it with a shortened deck. So they would take out like the lower cards and maybe play, I think, with sevens and up. So there were still plenty of cards because you only got two, and then there was the cards that were there. So you tended to get better hands, made for a little more exciting betting. And in the Macedonian word, they called it Bumba. That was the game they called. But so yeah, I grew up with that culture, and I've sort of kind of turned into that now because I simply can't afford to just constantly be going to the local casinos. My closest casino to where I live is maybe a 25-minute drive. And if I expand that to, let's say, an hour and a half driving, I'm talking about over a dozen casinos, and some of them like, world class casinos. I'm less than 2 hours from Caesars in Windsor, which is a big, beautiful casino. A little longer if I go down to Niagara Falls and there's casinos. And that's just here in Canada. That's all the Canadian ones. So there's certainly, yes, that exactly, Shakaz, exactly what that is. If you have the money to play on all the different properties and all the different reward things, fine. And if you've got that kind of money, you're going to get the rewards. You don't care anyway. Okay, because otherwise you have to concentrate to maximize your rewards. And that's just a simple tip. Even if you're a really, really small time, yeah, I know, Lisa. I know, we're almost neighbors. A lot of Americans do come over. Same thing happens in Niagara Falls because, of course, there's no tax here. If you do get a big pay, they don't withdraw for tax. Now, I guess you got to settle it with the IRA at tax time. I don't know how. For the couple of hundred US, you got a lot more money Canadian. So yeah, that happens a lot. Unfortunately, the Canadian laws, they don't comp booze. They still don't do that. Even in my heyday of the casino life, it was fancy restaurants. In fact, okay, I got to share a story. Again, excuse me, 100% true story. This was back in this casino. So at the time, the girl I was dating was a bit of a long-range relationship. She didn't live nearby, so she was up for a while. And I says, okay, let's go by the casino. I get comp rooms at the. Now at the time, they hadn't built the hotel that they later built, but they would comp rooms in different motels and hotels that were around there. So one of the better ones, I had the rooms comp there for 4 or 5 days, whatever. That wasn't a problem. It was about 20, 25 minutes from the hotel. So Saturday night now. And Saturday nights were just like in Vegas. They were pretty packed. And this casino, of course, attracting people from all over the area, was packed. I call up my casino host, who was one of the main guys there, one of the big casino hosts there. And yep, I forget his name, to be honest with you now, but I call him up. Yep, it's me, blah, blah, blah. Send a limo. Oh, yes, sir. No problem. Make a reservation at Ronaldo's, which was the high-end Italian restaurant. I ate there many times. Oh, man, did they have good food. I used to usually get this tomahawk veal steak that was done perfectly, and the frito misto they would do with the seafood. Oh, lovely stuff. The only thing they didn't comp the damn alcohol because that's Canadian law. Not that I didn't earn it. So this Saturday night, she's dressed up, I'm dressed up. Okay, we're going to the key. Limo pulls up in front of the place. We get in, sitting in the back of the limo. It's about a 25-minute ride to the actual casino. Now they pull up to the casino right in the front entrance. And, like she's done up, and I made sure I had my shades on so I looked like, like a big shot. And the casino host is there, and he opens the door of the limo, and out we come, and we're walking through. Holt opens the door for us, and people are watching. Like, who are these people? Right? Is this some kind of a celebrity? No, it's Mr. Nobody. But that's the way you're treated. Now he walks us through. We go right in, right past. We get to Ronaldo's. There's a lineup of about 25 people in front of this, waiting to get in. He opens the door, takes us in right to the table. We sat, we partied and gambled and whatever that night. At the end of the night, limo, back to the hotel, because there wasn't a hotel on the site at that point. 100% true story. Now, needless to say, my date was impressed. But you know what I mean? I know all about that. That's a different time, a different world. I certainly couldn't sustain that now. So what I do, I've turned into my parents, who used to save their money and then go to Vegas, and that's what I do now. I go down to gamble, and I might maybe 2-3 times in an entire year take a couple of $100 if I have it and go to the local casino, but usually I don't. I can discipline myself that way and do other things, spend money on other things, and save it up for Vegas. And that's my Vegas experience, and that's what I go to do. And I enjoy that. Like I said, it's mostly video poker and other stuff there, and, getting free cocktails. I think people complain that the cocktail girl, I had no problem with that. In fact, when I'm going, if I'm sitting at the bar playing poker, that's one thing. Bartender's right there. But even if out, I make sure I make eye contact, or I might even go up and tell the waitress, hey, I'm going to be playing over here. Keep an eye out for me. And of course, they'll come the first time. You make sure you give them a decent tip. The first time, they come back. She used to come. She came by more than once, where I hadn't finished my drink. Are you okay? Do you want another drink? Yeah, no problem. They well looked after. I don't know why sometimes people complain about that. And for goodness sakes, tip your waitress. Please do. It's not just a courtesy or whatever. I mean, they're doing that for whatever. It's worth the service. That's not a time to get overly cheap. And I will say this, and I mean this with no disrespect or anything. If you have to count your nickels and dimes too much to go to Las Vegas, then maybe you should postpone going till you have a few more dollars. Now, you don't have to be, obviously you have to be conscientious with your money and whatever, but what's the point to go there and think, oh my God, I'm short $2 here or whatever. I think that sort of spoils. It might be, Mike, I'm just looking at what Mike's saying there. I'm pretty positive that all states have to list whatever their minimums are. Like I said, in Nevada, it's 75%, and I guarantee you, most of the machines, especially in the smaller casinos and the off-strip casinos, are set higher than that, because the casino's still going to make money on there. I mean, that's, and even if you're playing a slot machine that's set at 95% or 97%, which is pretty rare and extremely high, you can sit there and drop $300, $400, $500 and think like, wait a minute, what's it set at? Because that is what the algorithms are set for. You're literally talking tens of millions of spins for it to play itself out. It's a fascinating thing how it works. The best way to describe that is take the simple flip a coin. We all know it's 50-50, right? Go flip the coin 100 times. I can almost guarantee you that it's not going to be 50 heads and 50 tails. I can pretty well, I won't lose that bet. because it doesn't work that way. Now, you flip that coin a million times, it's still not going to be exact 50-50, but it gets closer and closer to that 50-50. That's how probabilities work, and that's how the math of probabilities work. And again, like I said earlier, you cannot argue with math. It is what it is. And that is what the thing. So again, coming back to like what I say, I know at least with a poker machine, if I'm at this machine at this side of the casino, or at another machine on the opposite side, or a machine at a different casino, I don't have to guess at what that's set at. So I can move confidently around and just play with my own little superstitions, and we all have that, right? Oh, I don't feel lucky on this machine, I'll move. Well, the other machine that has the same payout, you might get lucky, whatever. We all have that. It's part of the fun of gambling, as long as you don't let those little superstitions control you. And as long as you don't let those little superstitions get you into bad habits, there's nothing wrong with them. It's part of the fun. But at least I know in the back of my mind that whatever it says, there's no mystery. I look on there. Oh, and guess what? Like I said, they're free programs. I can go on my phone if I'm not sure. Bring up the program. It's not even an app. It's a website, and look there and say, yeah, exactly, Lisa. No, exactly. I usually, whether it's the bartender or the waitress, usually the first tip is always the better. I don't keep it at that higher level, but it's like, hey, you're important, keep around, and then I'll vary it. If I'm if I'm having a good session, I'll throw a few extra dollars, and you get treated well. And even with the bartender, the drinks get better, they get fancier. When I'm sitting at the bar, the first tip is usually $4 or $5. For whatever the drink they're giving me, whatever. And then maybe the next one, maybe $3, and then whatever. Maybe it's $2, and then, the odd time the drinks are going, I'm going to even forget to put money in. The bartender doesn't know. He's already been well looked after, or she has been well looked after, and there's no issues there. And throw some the next time. But overall, absolutely, you take care of them, and they'll take care of you. Last time I was in Vegas, I was there at the at the station. I was playing, and Sincloth and Matt Ross were both there. They were both live streaming my play, and the waitress gave us all three of us drinks. I was the only one playing, and we got at least, I think, 2 or 3 drinks. There was no problem. I tipped her like handsomely, okay. But the point was that she bent the rules. She was still making money. I gave her $5 a crack for 3 of us. It still worked out to less than $2 a drink. But she didn't care. She brought 3 drinks instead of 1 and got $5 each time, and she was happy. Nobody came down and said, "What are you guys doing?" or whatever. It's so in that respect, I suppose old Vegas is still alive. It is for me anyway. I was very happy for that. Like I said, I was very happy the first time. That's slow. I'll give you a crash course for free. It's yeah, but hey, in Vegas it's all U.S. math. There's no Canadian math in Vegas. That you need Irving in his calculations as a trucker driving around. It always makes fun of us Canadians because of course we have the metric system here. But I hope you guys realize that it's you Americans who are the anomaly. I mean, even the damn British who invented the imperial system switched over to metric. I think the United States is the only place that still uses the imperial measurement system. If you guys weren't so damn powerful in the world, everybody would be like thumbing their noses at you. Well. Anybody have any other questions? I think I've been pretty open and honest. Anyway, I think the bottom line of what I was talking about here is Vegas changed because people changed. Vegas is not planning for just today. Vegas is planning 15, 20, 30 years in the future. because they know that the 25, 30-year-old that's coming to Vegas for the first or second time now, they want them to be coming there when they're my age. And if this is what they want now, eventually things will change again because they always do. That's one thing about Las Vegas is it doesn't, stay the same. Personally, and maybe it was because that was the golden age when I was going there, was when they started with those themed hotel casinos, which the Mirage was, of course, the first, and so many exploded after that. I always thought that was a really cool kind of thing about Vegas. Each place had its own little mini mystique to it, and its own little kind of fantasy world that it created. And now, of course, you look at the newer places, the Wynn and the Resorts World and Fontainebleau, and they're all basically like super fancy hotels, inside and outside. That's what they are. You can go to anywhere in the world that has the high end, top of the line hotels, and that's what you're going to see. That's what people want. That's what they want. They don't just want to sit at a bar. They want to sit at a fancy lounge, and they don't just want a cocktail. They want a nice designer cocktail that maybe it smokes or it, is this. And so, okay, so it's going to cost me $25. No problem. And if you do gamble, table minimums are, of course, going up because remember, now here's an interesting fact. Again, an interesting fact. Where are we going for dinner together on Sunday? Ha ha. Who's that? Which dinner is that we're having? You mean you and me? I don't know. I'm probably the night I get to Vegas after I go to my room or whatever. I'm going to be probably hungry. I don't know. I think I will probably have a prime rib dinner at the Cal, or I may just go to the 777 pub at the Main Street station. I don't know. I'll see how I feel, but I know I'll probably be a bit hungry and a bit tired before I start pounding the machines. Now, Mike, you made me forget what I was talking about. Oh, well. That's what grappa will do to you, huh? This is very, very potent stuff. You like my fancy grappa glasses? Again, these were a gift to my dad, which I got to inherit them. Slow, you had a question. What's your question, man? Yeah, I found it in an actual winery in Niagara, which that's in the area where that girl I told you with the casino story, that's where she lived. And yeah, it's designed, it's kind of like a tulip shape. It's designed to basically, okay, there you get a kind of a view, to enhance the aroma or whatever. They said grappa glasses. I hadn't seen that before, so I thought, hey, there's a good birthday present for you. Here you go, Dad. He never used them, or once in a blue moon. When I came over, he said, Dad, come on, let's have a grappa in the glasses. And I thought, oh. Anyway, try to do something different with my my drink for the evening. So, Mike, yeah, I know you're itching, man, and I'm so glad for you that you got rid of the damn kidney stone. Oh, cool. There you go. No, I never stayed at the Tropicana. I have played in there. There was, oh my God, NASCAR. Really? Oh, no, not interested in NASCAR. Sorry. But they're not going to, they don't race. Like they have the special track, don't they? That's out from the town. I don't know where exactly it is. But don't they have a designated NASCAR track in Vegas, Kev? I think so. Yeah, the Tropicana. Ah, yeah, the memories of the old places. Yeah, there you go. Oh, okay, the Speedway. Yeah. Well, Slow, you're down. You're in the south, okay? You're in the south of the states. You guys, that's the one thing you guys do. Two things: you do football and you do NASCAR, and you're masters of both. So I'm not surprised. Good point, baby love. or they wish they were. Yeah, I mean the problem with Vegas drivers is you have a lot of dumbass tourists, or well, I'm going to call someone who lives in Nevada but drives 3 hours into Vegas as a tourist. Okay, they may have come from California and they're driving and they've been drinking or whatever and they're being careless. That's a big issue, and there's a lot of accidents and stuff that happen, which is that's just really sad. Anytime I'm anywhere where there's traffic, I don't just look both ways. I look like 6 ways and then do it again before I move. Everyone better be like well stopped before I start moving. So all I need is one Yahoo to come around and take me out. Not worth it. Not worth it. Oh no, Kevin. No, no, no. Not a sore subject at all. No such thing. No such thing on my channel. No such thing. There's you gotta really step in the doo-doo before, I'll say that there's some kind of a line that's been crossed. It's just I've never been a lot of auto racing, even like the F1 or that. I kind of had a time when I was a little bit in there, and a few times as a young man where I should have probably killed myself in an automobile and luckily did not, thinking that I was some kind of a hot shot driver. So that's a whole other story. That's glad I survived, made it to this age. Age brings wisdom. It's supposed to. Okay? It is supposed to, because at the end of the day, if we don't have wisdom, what do we have? Youth has everything else. Has the strength, has the stamina, has the vigor, has the ambition, has the drive, because we were all there. And, everything slows down and then, but what age has is the life experience. And that's why I'm a firm believer that, I love to share stories and share anything that I can step in and share something with whoever's willing to listen, because it's very important. It's very important to share ideas. It's very important to share experiences. And then it's up to the individual to, do with that what they will. Hopefully they do something constructive with it. Hopefully they do something positive with it. But you can't guarantee anything. Is Slow asking me to do that? Step in the doo-doo halibut. I don't know about that. Damn, should I time him out? No, I wouldn't do that. Oh, goodness gracious. Yeah. Vegas is just around the corner. It kind of snuck up a bit. It certainly did kind of sneak up. There's been a lot of different things that, that you stepped in it. No. See what I mean, Kevin? See, that was right over my head. One thing about me, if I don't, later this month, Shakaz, I hope I'm pronouncing your name right, or Shakaz, I'm just going by the letters here. October 20th, I will be in Vegas, Sunday night, for 5 nights. I think the trip after that, I'm gonna start making my trips a full week. We'll see how the dollars last, but yeah, that's the plan. I was there back in May. I think when was it? May 5th, I think, when I got there. Yes, it was, because it was May 5th, the Sunday was Cinco de Mayo. But again, didn't take part in any of that madness. So, yeah, I leave that to the younger generation. Now, I will pose this for all of you, okay? And if you want to say that the man is nuts here, but let's say for a minute, okay, forget you're my age. So now you're 25, you're 30, whatever. You're young, you're fit, you're whatever. Now, there's a big fancy-ass band playing on one of the stages on Fremont Street. It's 95 degrees outside. And you're standing there with 1,000 other people, shoulder to shoulder, packed, holding your drink, listening to the band. Now, your drink, I don't care what it is, it's going to be warm before you know it, even if it's full of ice, pretty much 20 minutes. Now, you finish that drink. How do you go and get another one? Forget it. You're not going there. And heaven help you if you have to have a piss, because you ain't going to any bathroom. Now, call me crazy, but I think those people are nuts. If I'm going to be listening to a band, and I went to a lot of concerts and things when I was younger and did that, I want to be sitting down. I want to have access to a bathroom if I need it. I want to have some civil, I don't know, and heaven help if the person beside you has less than perfect hygiene and you have to smell them while you're sitting there shoulder to shoulder listening to the band. So I don't know, and I've seen it. There's a lot of videos of some of the big bands, where they cordon off a section of the experience, and you have to go through metal detectors, and you see the people. Yeah. I know all about that, Mike. I know. But you're young. You're young. You get to be crazy at your age. I was young once too. I know all about that. You just take care of yourself. Make sure your money's in a safe place and things like that. Absolutely. That's on the fairgrounds at the Circus, correct? That they have some kind of fairgrounds there, if I remember correctly. This is just plain water. Okay. All right. Yeah, so this is a 2-day thing. Now, Mike, you were saying you have tickets for both days or just for one day? Is that the way it goes? Yeah, slow. You don't have to worry. That was all rumors that they were going to tear down Circus. And I'll promise you this, even if they do make some plans, it'll be up and standing when you come down next spring. Nothing happens that quickly. Nothing happens that quickly. If it's in the rumor stage now, yeah, I think you can put money on that. So sorry, yeah, back to you, Mike. So I know you were saying one day. It's a very good bet that they won't. Just Saturday for me. Some show. Now is it? Oh, same show. Okay, thank you. Okay, got it. So there's really no point to go both days. It's not like there's a different set of bands or whatever on the other day. It's a one is a mirror of the other. Okay, that makes perfect sense. Yeah, that was my point, Lisa. That was my point. And again, it's easy to say, "Oh yeah, you old stodgy guy. Oh, you're not going to do that." But yeah, I see these, and there's been a few concerts. Now, forget the music. That's a personal taste thing, and my taste in music is obviously affected by my age and whatever, and that's fine. That's a personal thing. Um, but the whole idea, and a lot of these are in summertime, and it's like sometimes it's over 110 degrees, and you see them just packed like sardines, and oh, I don't know. Like I said, I hate to think that a lot of those people that have been drinking and are drinking are wearing adult diapers if they have to have a pee. But I bet you a lot are, and that is like I shudder at the thought. I'm hopefully I'm a lot older than I am now if I ever have to have those things. But yeah, well, yeah, baby love, you have some health issues that would be crazy. But I'm talking even if you're in perfect health, it's I don't know. I think it's nuts. And I think that when I think it's nuts, and I'm trying to be pragmatic and trying to be honest and realistic about this, I think it has to take away from the enjoyment, doesn't it? I mean, first of all, you're standing, right? And again, you're young, you're fit, you're whatever, you're standing for maybe an hour and a half, however long these concerts are. That's got to get a bit frustrating. And it's not like you're standing, but you can kind of move around. Hey, Steve, how you doing, man? Thanks for coming in. You can't move around. So you're kind of there and you're pasted there because at least if you can kind of move around a bit, okay, you get a bit stiff, you get a bit thing. Oh, yeah, no problem. Okay, I moved around a bit. I'm fine. Forget it. Yeah, well, slow. You're gonna be doing a walking live before you know it, and I promise you, I'll be there busting your chops the whole way for all the times you make walking comments, okay? Just go with the healing, do your physio, you'll make it. We all know you will. Yeah, now he's pissed off at me, probably. No, he's not. Or now, slow. Don't do something stupid and go get that old scooter of yours and start pushing yourself and fall down or do anything like that. I don't want to be the cause of any of that sort of stuff. We want to make sure you heal properly. Kev's dreaming of NASCAR. You keep saying that, and your PT is going to push you one time just to say, hey, I'm going to test your balance. It's give you the little shot. Ah, see, Mike? At 32 and you're already achieving wisdom. There you go. You know what? It's everyone can have a point of view or an opinion. All I say about that is you have to try and back it with some kind of reasoning. Whatever that opinion might be, whatever that point of view might be, that's my world. That's how I've always been. And even if somebody presents to me a completely different point of view that I don't, I don't accept, if they formulated that with some thought behind it, at the very least, I will respect them for that. And I will respect that point of view and say, hey, I don't agree with you, but your point of view has at least there's been thought behind it, and I can see how you've connected the dots to come to that conclusion. And that's how knowledge has progressed all through mankind, where people have exchanged ideas and talked about things and they didn't always agree. In fact, most of the time they disagreed. And, oh, I believe this, and oh, yeah, but how about this, and whatever. And you kind of sort through it all. And if everything is taken respectfully, and if everything is analyzed for what it is in substance, then you might suddenly see and say, you know what? My idea is pretty solid, but this guy said something here that, yeah, it fits. And she said something here that really makes this part of what I think, I'm going to replace it with what she said. And before you know it, you formulate a much stronger thought. So, yeah. Wheelchair. You guys. And then Shakaz comes in with it, then you can make a well-informed decision. Is that before or after the wheelchair races? Have to be careful when you try to be serious, because you might end up falling into a trap of mixing sincerity with hilarity, and then God knows where that's going to take you. But I'm so happy you guys all decided to come by here, and yeah, yes, free courses in Canadian math. Maybe we'll do a talk, or we'll talk about the crazy Canucks, and I will do a talk one night where we'll talk about different things that, we have the same issues here in Canada as that you have in the United States. And, that's not a topic for tonight, but the world needs some fixing. Looney Math. Hey, you know what? I kind of miss. I'll tell you an interesting story with the loonies and toonies. As you know, Canada got rid of our $1 bills and our $2 bills. And I'm sad to say, like back in the casino days, we got rid of our $1,000 bills, because that used to be really cool when I'd hit a big jackpot or something and pay me off. Like, you hit a royal flush on dollar machines, that's $4,000, no tax. And I'd ask, can I have thousands, please? And they'd peel me off 4 of these $1,000 bills. And they were kind of pinkish red, and they had 2 Orioles on the back of it. Really cool looking bill that they got rid of them. But yes, so now we got rid of the $1 bill, and then later, I don't know how many years later, got rid of the $2 bill and replaced it with the loonie, which is the $1 coin, and the toonie, which is the $2 coin. Supposedly it saves the government money because the wear and tear on the bills makes it impossible to put them into a slot machine, though, because they don't take those kind of coins. And also, all of a sudden, you have, heavier change in your pocket. But what is really interesting is, because I used to work when this change came over, I was working down in the GTA, and a lot of my clients were right in downtown Toronto. And walking in there, of course, you had the street beggars that were there, and you can call them homeless or whatever. But people would go by and they'd throw their change in there and they'd collect money. And of course, when this changed over, all of a sudden people were reaching into their pockets, and instead of nickels, dimes, and quarters, sometimes there was a loony and later a toonie mixed in there, and that they would be tossing in. So I'll tell you another true story, and it's kind of affected my thought about that. And I know this is not going to be overly popular, but I I have a lot of suspicion with a lot of these people that are looking for handouts. Panhandlers, I think, is the official term. But let me tell you the story. So the one time I was going down to see my number one client. He had the biggest place, an electronics store right on Yonge Street, which is the main north-south street in Toronto, and that's like the heart of downtown. And he was right there, right in center core downtown. He had this shop there. Now, of course, you can't park on Yonge Street, so I parked on an off street and I'd walk down. So as I walked, I passed this one guy who was sitting there and playing money. I didn't give him any money, and I walked down and I go in and visit my customer. And we sat down and we're talking and back and forth. And after about 15, 20 minutes, who do I see walk into the store but this same panhandler? So I said to him, his name was Paul. I said, Paul. I says, hey, tell your guys, don't waste your time with this guy. He was out there like begging for money there on the street. He's got no money or whatever. And Paul starts laughing. I says, okay, what's the joke? Let me in on it. Well, what's going on here, man? And he goes, oh, we know that guy. He comes in here all the time. He said, what are you talking about? He says, he comes in here and brings in his change, and we give him bills and stuff because we'll take the change. We can use it for whatever. He says he brings in $200-300 a day, cash. And sometimes people buy him sandwiches and stuff, the poor guy. So he was making back then $200 to $300 cash a day, tax-free, supposedly the poor, disadvantaged person on the street. There you go. And that is not you heard the story from a friend of a friend of a friend. I was there. First person heard the story. So ever since then, and they have the signs. The signs are kind of cool. So again, there was this one intersection when I used to live in the town of Barrie, which is a town about 50 miles or so north of Toronto. Anyway, so I'm going to the intersection, and the guy's got a sign there, and it says, need money going to Sudbury, which is a town way further north, about 3 hours, 2.5 hours drive north. Okay. About 2 weeks later, I'm in the same intersection and see the same guy with the same sign. Well, I couldn't resist. I rolled down the window and I said, hey, buddy, I saw you 2 weeks ago. You could have walked to Sudbury in this time. Well, he hid the sign and took off down the side of the road. But, it sort of kind of taints your view. If I'm going to help somebody, it's somebody I know that actually needs the help, and I'll help them directly. But two true stories about Halibut and the Panhandlers. And then when I moved out to where I'm living now, I didn't say anything, but I saw a guy at the corner, and he didn't even have a sign. I thought, listen, man, I got to help you out here. At least make a sign. The one homeless, something, God bless at the end, and he has the sign. And anyway, I'm stepping in the doo-doo now, so it's just, we're supposed to be talking about Las Vegas. Ah, loony math. One thing I promise, if I tell a story, it's true. The good stories, the bad stories, the embarrassing stories, the ones I'm proud of, they're all true because it's way more fun that way. Do I play? No, I don't. Because again, now I have, there are poker machines there. And again, if I see you there at a poker machine, if I'm killing time, but usually the way the flights are going, I don't mind. I can stay at whatever. Because of course, when I get to Vegas, I'm going to go right away, get my ride share and get down to the casino so I don't have to play. And then when I'm coming back home, I've had all my playing, and I've done all that stuff. So, hey, I usually don't. But I did used to when I used to smoke, and then I'd go to the smoking area and and sit there and play in there because I had to go in there and smoke anyway. So might as well play the machine while I'm having a cigarette. So yes, I have. Almost always Ed and Judy. Well, there's a nice surprise. Thank you for coming in. Thank you. So you've heard of a couple of them. Well, they're all true. And again, as I said, I love telling stories. I love sharing different things in my life, and like I said, they're good because they're true. And I haven't even started talking about some of the really funky stories. I do make sure that I put on the live stream because I'm still kind of new at this. That it is not for kids, because I do have some good adult stories. Now I try not to get us all banned from YouTube, so I'll be very careful. But they're all pretty fun. I'll wave the. Oh, Kev, you're going to wave the flag. Yes, absolutely. Oh, yes, the starter flag for the wheelchair races. Now that, okay, now that is something worth doing. That is something worth doing. I think you could definitely start a trend with that. Although, if I'm not mistaken, those electric wheelchairs are pretty expensive. You're talking some pretty fancy stuff there. So we'll need a sponsor. Definitely need a sponsor. Oh, okay, you asked that. Okay, thank you for asking. The thumbnail picture today, I just was looking there. I didn't want to put my regular one, and I thought I'd throw that in. That's an old picture. The last place I worked was for a local newspaper in the Barrie area, and it was like, it's funny then, like a lot of newspapers, small town papers, boom, everything all out of business now. But back then we used to have something every year that we called Reader's Choice, which was like the all the readers and whatever. Eventually it was done online. They used to do it with like old paper ballots, but they would vote for their favorite business in the various categories that we had set out. And there was like a couple of hundred different categories. So the two ladies that were there were clients of mine who had won. They were actually she was a fitness instructor, and that was one of her employees, and we got along well. So I mean, so she took we had the picture taken, and of course I had to do a silly pose, and she loved it. I sent her the picture, whatever. So it was funny. I had it there in the archives of my phone, and I came across it. And no, there's a funny picture to put in there, and it was pointed out to me today that yes, I do look a lot younger and better looking back then. That picture is about 6 or 7 years old, I'm guessing. 3. It's an estimate, but around at least 6, maybe 7 years old. But yeah, that's the two of them, and yeah, she won. Actually, she won. I think 2 years in a row or 3 years in a row that she won. So it was, and then, okay, sorry. So what this was the winners were then invited to kind of like a meet and greet, wine and cheese kind of, cocktail party sort of thing. There was, food served and whatever, because it was great. What we got was the restaurant winners, okay, in the different restaurant categories would bring food, and then they would get, comped advertising for what they did. So it was kind of like a comp around the thing. So yeah, we ate good and drank good, and everyone had a good time. And so yeah, that was taken at one of those little things, one of the corporate benefits. That was it. Reader's Choice, it was called, and it was done through the whole chain of papers in Eastern Canada. It was called Metroland, which was part of the Torstar Group, which was the Toronto Star. Now that newspaper still exists in Toronto. I remember as a kid growing up there, my parents subscribed to that. How many decades ago? Used to get it, every day, and the big one on the weekends. But yeah, that company, they went out of business, and they were bought out by another local one. And that kind of thing is happening also in the States, isn't it? as well, where small local newspapers that used to service small communities, it's just dying. Nobody gets the paper anymore. You know, we used to do a huge business in we call them flyers in Canada. You call them something different in the United States, and I can't think what exactly it is. But like the grocery ones were the big ones with all the specials for the week and different. Now everything's online now, so very nobody does a paper one anymore. Yeah, times change, and they change rather quickly. They change rather quickly. Grappa's done. That was good. Well, gang, I think I'm pretty well done with my talking about Vegas. Now I can just dream about going there. I knew that it was coming up, and I kind of wanted to do this topic and talk about the changes. And you know what? To kind of finalize here, and this is, I'm speaking to you, baby love, and anyone who has lived in Vegas or whatever. It has become tough for the locals there. And a part of that, let's remember, has been the rapid population explosion. Because I think, at the turn of the century, Vegas had something like, 900 something thousand people. I'm pretty sure it was under 1 million. And now the greater Las Vegas area, I think, is just under 3 million people. Last time I heard a number. So when you get that kind of rapid expansion, you're going to have housing issues, you're going to have homelessness issues, you're going to have crime issues, and all of that always happens the bigger you have a city, with all the special challenges, of course, that you have as a place in Vegas. And that's the part that's tough. And that's the part that has made the new Vegas tough. Because as I said before, nothing stopped a local from going to a nearby casino and having a great, inexpensive buffet meal or a lunch or a breakfast or something, or, a cheap night out and whatever. That's all gone now. That's all gone now. There's no, and the, everything has become that much higher up. It's a name brand. It's a cheap dream of royal flushes. Yes. Well, I'm 2 for 2. Last 2 trips in Vegas, I got a royal flush, so I probably just jinxed myself now. But let's see what I can do this time. You know what? Last 2 trips, I've always brought back money, so I've been able to bring back some of the money I brought down, which for me that's a win. I mean, the goal, sure, you'd like to come back with thousands of dollars more than you came down with, but. A very, very close second best is getting close to breaking even, or coming back with even 50% of what you brought down. That's a win. 75% or whatever, and it's not impossible. It certainly is not impossible, especially playing the games I play and doing that. Yeah, they're a little bit more on the boring side. Even when I play the slots, I play the more boring, old style ones, but they keep you going more. And who knows? This time around, I may do a Vegas live. I don't know. Maybe. I'll probably do some videos for sure. I don't know if I'll go live. I'm going there to enjoy myself, because this trip is going to be the first one. The last 2 were not totally. I won't get into a lot of it. The first one back in August, there was some family things involved, and the trip in May was supposed to be one thing and turned out to be something else. And there were a few unanswered questions, which now have all been answered. Like, you guys are going to laugh, but for example, the last time I was in Vegas, I had not. I went myself, and I hadn't gone on a plane trip by myself in years, and certainly not since the the whole 9/11 thing and the increased security or whatever. So some of my kids thought, I wonder if he's going to make it all right. Well, I made it okay. And another thing you're going to laugh at, but I had never until then used an Uber or Lyft ride. Never done that before. Never have to. I've got a car. I go wherever I have to. I drive in my car, or one of my family members is driving or something. I never had a transportation issue. But of course, in Vegas, I thought, okay, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go take an Uber, and I managed to do it all myself. I managed to compare the Uber with the Lyft and pick the better one, and it worked, right? So, it's a funny little things like that. So this time around, I know exactly what I'm going to do. Well, no, I haven't decided that yet. I've still got a few ifs, ands, ors that haven't really planned my itinerary, but I know it's going to be all my stuff. You too, eh, Kev? There you go. Well, like I said, it's painfully easy, and so I can imagine people that get into that all the time. But it was reasonable. I think. Let me see now. From the airport to the Main Street station, because I only took the two. I didn't do any side trips or anything last time. And I think it was about $25 each way, slightly different. I don't remember the exact amounts. It was a couple of bucks more expensive on the way down. Never. Well, you know what? You sort of have an account. You set it up. That's easy. You set up some sort of a payment setup, like you put your credit card in, or there's a variety of ways you can pay. You lock that in so that when you accept the ride, then it's all done, and they take the payment, and Bob's your uncle. Now the only thing, obviously, because my bank had to do the conversion thing, because of course they're charging me in US dollars, that Canadian math, but I didn't worry about that. They did whatever that's going to be. That's no big deal, but it's super easy. Like I said, if I could do it first time around, hey, not that hard. I'm not exactly a troglodyte when it comes to technology. The irony is that in my working there you go. That's it, Uncle Bob. You got it. The irony is that in my working career, I was in consumer electronics at that time, and I was very much right at the front of the different things. And I mean, always been with that. I can remember retail selling VCRs. So anyway, that's another story for another thing. I'll tell you my work history maybe. I think I'm going to call it a night, gang. Oh my goodness. Wow, I've been on for an hour and a half. That's longer than I expected. I thank everyone for coming by. I really do. It was wonderful. Keep your eyes peeled for the next one. I always try to make it interesting. I appreciate the support, but I want you to come because you're getting something out of it. And believe me, that's what will make me the most happy. So yes, have a great night, everyone. Thank you so much. I think Slow is going live very soon. So yes, thank you, Shagaz. I hopeful it's up to the pilot. I hope he has a good night's sleep before he or she is flying. And yeah, I still got to go through a fun Thanksgiving with the family here. So who knows? I may do a live of the turkey on Thanksgiving. That I'm going to look forward to. So that's great. Thank you, Crooked Cactus. I appreciate that. I do appreciate it. Like I said, I want anyone who shows in, if it's 1 or 10 or whoever shows up, I want you to leave thinking, yeah, I got something out of this. I kind of enjoyed what the crazy old fool was doing. That was my whole motive for doing this in the first place. Share some stories, share some thoughts, and have a good time. So good night, everyone. Till the next time, peace and love to everyone. Take care.